Hello, everyone. Hello to you. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation Santa Rosa and to our online weekly worship service. My name is Reverend Chris Bell. I have the good fortune of being the minister of this congregation. I'm so glad that you've found us and chosen to join with us today. We are a progressive and inclusive spiritual community in downtown Santa Rosa, California, located in the Glazer Center, and we are dedicated to celebrating life, empowering people, caring for one another, and helping to build a better world. There's just a few events and activities here in the life of the community that I need to share with you before we move on into our worship together. First, be sure to visit our website and particularly like our page on Facebook so you can stay up to date with events and classes and activities, many of which are still happening here in the Corona time via Zoom. If you would like to make a donation to the congregation, it is gratefully received. I would particularly ask for an influx of some cash to our Saturday breakfast program. We used to serve a hot meal every Saturday morning to sometimes hundreds of people. These days we're giving away about 120 brown bag lunches with a couple sandwiches and some fruit and drinks in them early on Saturday mornings. Almost everything has to be purchased. If you visit our webpage and click on the Donate Now button, you can follow the instructions and easily make a gift to the breakfast program specifically, or send a check and put Saturday breakfast in the memo. Thank you for that. Thank you also to all you pledging members who are continuing your support of our community during these hard times. Thanks to you individuals who've made unexpected and generous donations. I think of Art Rosenblum giving us the money to repair our broken window about a month ago. Thank you all for your support. We have a class coming up on Saturday, the 18th, that I'm teaching on our second source, the words and deeds of our prophetic people who call us to confront powers and structures of evil with the transforming power of love. So we'll learn about some famous Unitarians, Universalists, and Unitarian Universalists. That's at 10 o'clock. Check out the Facebook page for more information. We'll meet on Zoom. Speaking of classes, don't forget that we have religious education live every Sunday morning with separate age groups for little ones, tweens, and teens. You can contact the office for more information about how to sign on for that. Speaking of religious education, as you may have read, our beloved Director of Religious Education, Jen Freese, is compelled to leave our employ here in early August to care for her school-age children and guard her family's well-being in these chaotic and horrible times. We will have a much more complete goodbye and farewell and hear from Jen in an upcoming service. For now, Jen, I hope you know, and Sean and Rory and Owen, how much we love you and will miss you, and that I wish you every happiness in the days to come. I know I'm not alone in finding these times are making me grumpy and anxious and depressed, and I've got it easy. Working parents like Jen, like Veronica, who helped create today's service, I bow to you. I give special well wishes to anyone who's alone out there, who's dealing with health challenges, who's lost jobs, who are facing the end of life, but a special shout out to you who are caring for little ones with the schools reopening and all the uncertainty about that, the daily hardship of keeping youngsters amused and most of all safe. You do not have it easy. And we who do have it easy are praying for you and pulling for you and here to help however we can. I must also tell you that our administrative manager, Dawn Silvera, will be leaving UUCSR in a month or so to pursue other goals and interests, but not until after seeing us through some key database changes in our office and ensuring a smooth transition to her successor. Again, a more thorough farewell and appreciation to come, but for now, Dawn, thank you so much for getting the office through some truly unexpected and unprecedented changes and hardships, always with that big smile on your face. And finally, I want to introduce an announcement from our dear friend and fellow member, Susan Pantaya, who has enriched and served our congregation for decades through the entire length of my ministry in many ways, not least through the wonderful music that she has provided as she does again today. So without further ado, let's hear from Susan and then move into our time of worship. Thank you again for being here.
Well, it's happening. As many of you know, I've been in seminary for the last few years, studying to become a Unitarian Universalist minister. With most of my coursework behind me, it's now time for me to take my learning and my experience and put them into practice. Beginning in August, I will be serving as the intern minister at the Unitarian Universalist Church of the Monterey Peninsula, and I will be taking a leave of absence from this congregation until next summer. I have been a member of UUCSR for over 20 years. So while I am excited to be going to Monterey, I'm more than a little sad to be leaving you all. Sad and also grateful. I want to thank you for encouraging me, inspiring me, welcoming my contributions, and being awesome people to journey through the spiritual wilderness with. Over the past few years, I've learned a lot at seminary, but it was you who made me a minister. And wherever my ministry takes me, I will carry you with me in my heart. For 2 decades, it's been my privilege and delight to sing both for and with you. And so I offer this morning's music with love to you. And I expect to hear you singing along.
Jonah and I are going to light the chalice this morning using a reading from our hymnal. It's number 525 in the hymnal, if you have one at home. It's a reading called Web by Denise Lebertoff. Jonah, you want to help me light the chalice?
Yeah.
Okay. Here you go. Ready? Sit with me. Light it with me. Web.
There.
Intricate and untraceable, weaving and interweaving dark strand with light, designed beyond all spiderly contrivance to link, not to entrap. Elation, grief, joy, contrition entwined, shaking, changing forever, forming, transforming. All praise to the great web.
We are a gentle, angry people, and we are singing for our lives. We are a gentle, angry people, and we are singing
This is a poem, a reading, called Como Tú, Like You, Like Me, by Richard Blanco, for the DACA dreamers and all our nation's immigrants. My veins don't end in me, but in the unanimous blood of those who struggle for life. Mis venas no terminan en mí, sino en la sangre unánime de los que luchan por la vida. Roque Dalton, Como Tú. Como tú, I question history's blur in my eyes, each time I face a mirror. Like a mirror, I gaze into my palm, a wrinkled map I still can't read. My lifeline, an unnamed road I can't find, can't trace back to the fork in my parents' trek that cradled me here. Como tú, I woke up to this dream of a country I didn't choose, that didn't choose me, trapped in a nightmare of its hateful glares. Como tú, I am also from the lakes and farms, waterfalls and prairies of another country. I can't fully claim either. Como tú, I am either a mirage living among these faces and streets that raised me here, or I'm nothing, a memory forgotten by all I was taken from and can't return to again. Like memory at times, I wish I could erase the music of my name in Spanish. At times I cherish it and despise my other syllables clashing in English. Como tú, I want to speak of myself in two languages at once. Despite my tongues, no word defines me. Like words, I read my footprints like my past, erased by waves of circumstance, my future uncertain as wind. Like the wind, como tú, I carry songs, howls, whispers, thunder's growl. Like thunder, I am a foreign-born cloud that's drifted here. I'm lightning and the balm of rain. Como tú, our blood rains for the dirty thirst of this land. Like thirst, like hunger, we ache with the need to save ourselves and our country from itself.
One, each person is worthwhile. Two, be kind in all you do. Three, let's help each other grow. Four, keep searching for the true. Five, each person has a say. Six, work for a peaceful world. Seven, the web of life's the way that will bring us back to you.
Good morning. I'm Jen Freese, your Director of Religious Education, and I'm here with Rory and Owen, and we are looking at some paintings. So the paintings that I'm going to show them, you will be able to see too, and we can kind of look at them together. So these paintings, two of them are by an artist named Norman Rockwell, and he was a very famous American painter. And so let's look at the first one, and you can tell me what you notice. So here it is. Yeah, you can read the words.
Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. From the Otter book.
There's a book called Do Unto Otters as You Would Have Them Do Unto You. Is that a good book that we like to read? It is a good book. Okay, what do you notice in this painting?
I noticed that the boy that the man's holding just has like a string around his waist with like a little piece of cloth hanging from it.
So he's wearing really different clothes than like, what about this little boy who's being held by, it looks like maybe his mom. Do they have different clothes on?
Yeah.
Yeah. What else do you notice?
I noticed that there are different races of people.
Different races of people.
And I noticed that I think I see Martin Luther King Jr.
Ooh, you think you maybe see Dr.
right
Martin
there.
Luther King Jr.? Does that look a little bit like him?
Yeah.
Interesting.
With the black mustache and then brown skin and
Yeah. Okay, what else do we see in here? What do you think that this painting is? What is Norman Rockwell trying to say with this painting?
That everyone is worthwhile.
Oh, everyone is worthwhile, which is our first principle, huh?
There's
Interesting.
not as many people there is in the world.
What makes you think that, though? That's not
It's
as
like
many...
there's 1,000 people in the world.
Do you think he may be trying to say something about all the people in the world, though, with this painting?
Yeah?
It's interesting. So that's the feeling you get.
Why
Like
is
he's
he
trying
holding
to...
a chalice?
Why is he holding a chalice? It looks like it's maybe a special bowl. It could be something like food, or it could be something holy. That's the little boy down in the left-hand corner.
Who's Asian.
Mm-hmm, and he is Asian. Yeah.
Wait,
And
are
so,
you talking about him or him?
I was talking about the boy on the left-hand bottom corner, but there's a boy or a girl, we don't know, in the middle, a child who also has another bowl too. So a lot of people are holding special things in this painting too. It looks like maybe these are things that are special to them. Are they all the same?
No.
No, there's two bowls, but then there's a lot of other stuff that's really different. So,
Flag sticks.
So a flag or a
That whole
fan.
thing right there.
Yeah, the
bell
the
thing?
child on the right in the red has something else in their hands that looks really different too. So this is a really special painting talking about how everyone's worthwhile and doing things to other people the way that you would like them to treat you, even though we're all really different. Cool. Okay, are you guys ready for the next one?
Are you going to show them the painting?
Oh, right. They can see it on the screen, which is so special right now. We are recording, but the people at home are going to see it on their screen.
How? Oh.
It's technology. It's so magical. Okay, so here's the next one. So here's the next one. Can you read that? The words are a little bit...
Faded. Let's see here.
Each
according to the dictates of his own conscience.
Conscience. Each according to the dictates of his own conscience.
What is conscience?
Conscience is like that little voice inside of you that tells you if something is right or good. And let's see, this is a painting called Freedom of Worship, also by Norman Rockwell. And so what are the people in this painting doing, Lori? What do you think they're doing?
They're praying?
They're praying. Yeah, I see this lady here with the braids in her hair. She has something right here in her hands. What do you think that is? Do you guys know what that is?
No.
It's a special kind of prayer bead. It's called a rosary. What do we notice, though, about all of these people?
All these people are praying?
They're all praying and doing something that seems religious. He has a book down in the front. Are they mostly, what kind of skin color are they?
They're mostly white.
Yeah, these are mostly white
And
people.
then there's a dark person back there.
There's a person with dark skin color in the background, in the front here. But yeah, and so they seem to be praying in similar ways. So I want to show you a new painting. It's actually a photograph that a new photographer made, an updated version of this same image. And we're going to look at it and you can tell me how it's different. You ready? This is by a photographer named Maggie Miner.
Hey, it's kind of like that one, because they're all praying, and he has a book, and it's dark skin. It's kind of like that. The other one, there.
So we have people with different types of skin color. A lot more people with maybe brown or darker skin color.
And it has the bead.
She has beads too. Is that the same as a rosary?
Yeah.
It's a little different, right? So it's a different. And what's this down? What's the book down in the front?
The
The Quran. Yeah, and so that's a holy book for a different type of faith. That's the holy book for people who are Muslim.
And I just noticed something. He has some sort of
Beads
prayer
too.
beads.
So, how do you think this is an updated version
And
of that first?
I think he's holding water.
How is this one? The first one.
It's less it has
I
a
think
bigger area, and you can see a lot more of the people.
You can see more people.
And then it's not as blurred as the painting, and then it has way more people with different skin colors, not in the painting one where it's just mostly white and one black person. There's some darker skins up here, and then I see another dark skin there, and then
people with dark skin. Mm-hmm.
And then there's 3 white people there.
And maybe they might also be people of color, though. We're not sure. You can't always tell. So interesting, though. The updated one seems like it includes different types of religion. So it's saying like freedom of religion maybe isn't just for white Christian people, that it may also be for people of different ethnicities who have other religions too, right? Mm-hmm. Wow. What do you think is the importance of paintings like these? What do they teach us about people?
Us everyone's worthwhile.
Everyone is worthwhile. Does everyone have the right to gather and feel good and worship in their own way?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really special that there are so many different types
Even
of
the people that make bad choices.
Even some other people who maybe make bad choices have the right to come together and worship if they've made a bad choice maybe, and they might be in prison. They have the right to also worship, and they are worthwhile too. Thanks for pointing that out. All right, cool. So let's remember to celebrate lots of different cultures and different ways to worship, okay?
Yeah.
Can we tell everyone who we are?
Yeah.
Here we go. We are
Unitarian Universalists, people of the open minds, the loving hearts, and the helping hands.
Hello, I'm Paula Hammett, one of your lay chaplains. Milestones are where we share our joys and sorrows with the congregation, joyous occasions as well as the more tender events that we hold close to our hearts. You're invited to light a candle to remember those you are holding near to your hearts. I'll light one here, and if you'd like, pause the video to light your own candle. These are the milestones we share online this week. From Jan Ogren, happy birthday to the Glazer Center. We had our first service on July 11th, 2004. Wish we could all be there to celebrate our building's Sweet 16 birthday. Moving downtown was so wonderful. All the new people who have come and being more central and active in the community. Even though we can't be there physically, is still holding us together and anchoring our congregation. I also want to appreciate Rev Chris. You've been here since almost the beginning of our building, and I'm so glad you have made your ministry a long-term commitment with us. Speaking of Rev Chris, he celebrated his birthday this week. Cheers to an awesome guy on his birthday. Paul Brockman is quite happy and grateful to be home in Santa Rosa since last weekend. He says, I've been intensely grateful for the online services and connection to the congregation these last months while I was working in Bangladesh. But now, at least I know I'm back in the same town and the same time zone as the congregation. Welcome home, Paul. Special thanks goes to Sharon Smith, who's stepping down from the caring committee. She's been so great about sending cards to folks who have shared their milestones. Thank you, Sharon, for your loving care. Julie Mom will be taking over this job. Thanks, Julie. Please send healing wishes to Beth Wettergreen, who will be having hip replacement surgery this Friday. Beth says, I've been so fortunate with the outpouring of love and support from my UU friends. Special thanks to Gretchen Vapp, who has given me numerous rides, and to Mac Freeman, who has been arranging visits and food through the caring committee. I welcome all your phone calls as I heal. I miss my UU friends so much. Good luck with it, Beth. Shirley Rank has been in the hospital this week with a compression fracture and severe back pain. She will be moved to a rehab facility with physical therapy to help get her back on her feet. She can't have visitors, of course, but if you send a card to her home, I'm sure her daughter will make sure she gets it. From Rev Chris, I regret to tell you that after a long decline from cancer, our dear friend and fellow member, Bob Barrows, is nearing the end of his days, with his death expected over the next couple or few weeks. He's still aware and coherent and would welcome a card, I'm sure. He and Janet, pillars of our community, and each an inspiration to me, are handling this profound moment with honesty and grace, and of course many tears. Please pray for courage and comfort for Bob and Janet, and for an easy and painless transition for Bob, and hold them in the divine, loving presence. If you have something to share, please send it to laychaplains@uusantarosa.org. Let us know if you want it included here in the online service or just in the weekly compilation and Milestones book. If you have a private concern, we'd love to talk with you. Your lay chaplains are Lucia Milburn, Barb Keyser, Bruce Hope, Tamara Merle, Mary Lil Lee, Al Liner, and me, Paula Hammett. We give thanks for the sharing of these milestones, for how they remind us of our shared humanity and common fate, and inspire our compassion and care. May all our joys be magnified as we delight together in good news. May all our sorrows be eased as we carry them together in community. May you who are searching for courage, comfort, and faith find what you seek. And may all people grow in wisdom, compassion, and love, that the whole world might live with justice and in peace. Be safe and be well.
I'd invite you to join me in a prayer. Great and Holy Spirit of life and love, Creator and creation in and for all people, all times, all places. Thank you for this day. Thank you for the gift of our lives. Help us remember, even as we are struggling, to count our blessings and appreciate with praise the many beautiful things and powerful forces for good that are around us and in us at all times. Let that awareness give us the courage and the strength to hold fast to our hopes and dreams. Let it also shine a bright light that we might be cognizant of the ways that we have disappointed ourselves and others, when we have spoken when we should have been silent, or been silent when we should have spoken, the many ways we have failed our fellows and ourselves. Let us know the power of forgiveness and healing love, set it down and move on. Please, love, power, give courage and strength to all those who are living most closely under the shadow of the pandemic. Doctors and nurses and people who are fighting the illness, even within our community. Help us all keep our heads about us and our hearts open as we try to figure out the right way forward for our families, for our communities, for our nation, and for our world. We pray in this time of great change that humanity's collective heart will be opened, that every mind will fix on the same goal, and that all our hands will work toward the same destiny, a world of peace, a world of beautiful diversity, where difference is celebrated, where all are equal in the eyes of society and the law, just as they are equal in your eyes, O Holy One. And help us to see past everything that divides us from other people, even those we perceive as our enemies, that we might know an ever greater, bigger love in and around us and serve that love, and that all souls, including our own, shall grow in harmony with the divine. May it be so. Bless us all and bless the whole world. Amen, and blessed be.
pasión sopla volar, sube en la mar hasta moldear la justicia de la vida. Stirrings of compassion blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
I used to think I understood what it meant to be brown. After all, I have a brown sister. She was adopted when I was 9. She was 7. The story is a complicated one, but my mom, in all her whiteness, was solidly committed to exposing her brown daughter to her Mexican roots, and I was along for the ride. We spent many Friday nights in the Mission District of San Francisco, long before it was hip to be there, eating tamales in tiny holes in the wall, attending folkloric events and Christmas posadas where no one spoke English. And though I grew up in Marin, my formative years were more multicultural than one might imagine. My atypical family, it was just my mom, sister, and I, predisposed me to gravitate toward otherness. In my Catholic grade school, my best friend was a newly arrived asylum seeker from Iran. In high school, my 2 best friends were children of immigrants, one from China, one from Peru. None of their parents spoke English at home. My first boyfriend was half Korean, half Chinese. I loved being in their homes, eating their traditional foods, discussing life with hand signals. I can smell their homes, hear the cadences in my memories. And yet, throughout these experiences, I was, am still, obviously white. A truth I was acculturated long ago to ignore and have just recently rediscovered. My mom was liberal and progressive. She taught me and my sister that we are all humans, we all have value, that multiculturalism is a gift, that our skin color didn't matter. A colorblind ideology, so to speak. Good messages, just a little short of the truth. As it turns out, the only people privileged enough to be colorblind are white folks. 12-year-old me eating bocalipolo in Rana's house and challenging her dad about his traditional beliefs about women didn't grasp what it meant to be a man of Middle Eastern descent in this country. Bad enough in the 90s, worse after 9/11. 17-year-old me, watching Univision on William's couch with his parents, couldn't even begin to imagine the fear and racism his Spanish-speaking parents faced as service workers in wealthy Marin, struggling to get their 4 brown boys through school. Even 2 years in the Peace Corps didn't really wake me up to the privilege that whiteness afforded me. It simply granted me the tremendous gift that whiteness often does, of being welcomed without question and without fear into a tiny village in the foot of a cloud forest. Nor did the social justice curriculum of UC Berkeley's School of Public Health. The last 2 years in my job as faculty in the Santa Rosa Family Medicine Residency Program have taught me more about the complexity of multiculturalism and the pervasiveness of systemic racism than any of my 40 years before. I guess you could say I was a little late to the party. Yet another gift of whiteness. Just before I started on faculty, the residency reworked its mission and admissions process with the express goal to train doctors more representative of the people we serve. Around the country, medical schools have diversified their student bodies with similar goals. Historically, our program had amazing residents, but most were white. Diversity was a cause I was all for, at least I thought I was all for it. And the year I started on faculty, we recruited the most diverse class in residency history. We were all excited for this infusion of diversity. But it hasn't been easy. When just a few months into my faculty position, a Black resident sent me an email calling me racist, I seriously considered resigning. When residents of color came to me complaining that they were being asked to translate in the hospital, I figured if it was better for patients, they should just suck it up. When they said they were mistreated by nurses and other doctors because of the color of their skin, I didn't really believe them. When some of these same young women complained that there were no faculty mentors of color, I thought, well, at least you have women faculty. All I had a decade ago were male teachers. I wasn't the only one who had trouble hearing our young doctors of color. The entire faculty was white, and while we were all very dedicated teachers, lifelong advocates for social justice, and really nice human beings, we just didn't get it. We never had to get it. It took brave young physicians of color to speak up over and again, hiring a race and racism consultant, focus groups and listening sessions, faculty book clubs, role plays, and allyship and anti-racism trainings to get our seats really in the chair. And even now, at times when I get called out, I find myself questioning the underlying assumptions, feeling defensive, and not actually listening. I get wrapped up in my own personal otherness, my struggles, my story, which are all real and true, and still were not compounded by my race. One thing I have always had going for me is my whiteness. I just couldn't see that until shockingly recently. My sister is now a highly educated professional. Years ago, she told me the story of getting angry at her Chicana College professor and mentor who was complaining about white people. In that moment, my sister defended us, my mom and me, because we were hers. But really, white folks, that's not her fight to fight. It's our turn to step up, to listen, to believe. Yes, multiculturalism is a gift. It is replete with delicious food, awesome music, new traditions and perspectives, and all the beauty of humanity. But whiteness is a gift as well, a gift that can shield us from the challenges people of color face every day. It's time for us to use this gift, this privilege, to make and advocate and ally for change. Ask our employers, what are they doing to foster diversity in our workplace? Ask our neighborhood associations, what are we doing? Ask our local leaders what structures they are willing to tear down to work toward equity. Challenge our pastor and our small groups. I won't ever understand what it really means to be brown, but I can do my best to understand the many gifts my whiteness have provided me, and to keep learning and to keep listening, and to do my very best to make sure my actions and the organizations of which I am a part redistribute those gifts as equitably and freely as possible. May it be so.
There is no uncertainty about the suffering around us.
Nor uncertainty that the worst is still days ahead for us.
The possible futures we face never included an absence of suffering.
But the possibilities for how we move through this time are many.
And it is in the choices that we make that glimpses of hope can be found.
Is that we will accept these evils
as the best that we can do.
But that is not the only possibility. There is another.
There is another.
There is another.
There is another.
The possibility that love might just prove to be real.
And prove to be resilient.
And stronger in the end.
Than our self-interests and our failings.
This time, the circle can't be broken. The time is now, at last. We can rise. By sharing what we have, prioritizing connection, imagining new possibilities, and standing for justice. We can choose compassion, honor those whom we have lost, expand community, and rebuild trust in one another. We can love bigger. It's already happening. The seeds of this new direction are being planted all around us. Now is our time. Rise up, brand new day.
I'm reminded today of an old curse one hears, wrongly attributed to the Chinese, it turns out, by the British, who actually made it up, which says, "May you live in interesting times." That's a curse. Yeah. Are these times interesting enough for you? Are you tired of winning yet? We're all living through one of the worst pandemics and one of the worst economic crises in our nation's history, led by the least capable administration in our nation's history, and simultaneously participating in one of the most meaningful and widely shared, most participated in social protest movements in our nation's history, as around us some of the foundations of an old white supremacy system are being shaken to their very core. We are, literally, living in the midst of one of the most fraught and potentially fruitful moments in our nation's history, which makes it a fraught and fruitful moment spiritually, too. Particularly, I might suggest, for we Unitarian Universalists, for whom democracy in general, and American democracy in particular, is a spiritual concern. Our tradition very much came to be and blossom on these shores, and is tied up with the quest for liberty and justice for all. Our principles, our core statements of our faith, call us to affirm justice, equity, and compassion in human relations, and demand that we use the democratic process, or some democratic process, in our congregations and in society at large. And throughout our history to the present day, notable Unitarians and Universalists and Unitarian Universalists have worked hard to enlarge the franchise, to ensure equality for all. This is deep stuff for me, for us. Indeed, Vice President, now candidate Joe Biden, has described the contest we're in right now as a struggle for the very soul of the nation, one that is hundreds of years old, and which is also a struggle in our own souls, for our own souls. Boy, that struggle is not made easier by the fact that we have to engage in it physically isolated from one another and connected to the world primarily through our phones and our computers. But the struggle is very real. And in the political realm, I might just describe it as those who want America to be for a single culture, white, a certain kind of Christianity, between those folks and those who celebrate the reality, the real unfolding of a diverse, multicultural culture, as it were, that has or will eventually have room for everybody. And that struggle is real, like guns in the public square, cars driving into crowds, real. And the internet is filled right now with the display of this battle. I dare you to read the comments section of our own local newspaper, or to watch some of the many videos online that demonstrate the point perfectly. I watched one the other day. Charles Barkley, basketball player, goes to visit Richard Spencer, who's one of the worst kind of white nationalist leaders in the alt-right. Civil rights attorney Gerald Griggs is there too. And sitting right in front of Charles Barkley, Richard Spencer lays out, how actually he would love to send anybody that looks different from him home. Now, I feel the struggle in me when I watch these kinds of things or read these sorts of things. And I'm a spiritual person, or try, and I don't want to hate him. I don't want to shoot him. I have to beat him in a battle of ideas and ideals and at the ballot box. I have to educate my granddaughter differently than he's going to educate his progeny. And I have to be willing to be nonviolent, even when others are willing to be violent. And that is not easy. It is not easy. But as a bumper sticker might say, nothing worth doing is easy, except for taking a nap, which I strongly recommend. It's very easy to do and very wonderful. My point is, these times are demanding. They're exhausting as we try to push the country forward into the place that it needs to be. And we are so conflicted, and there are so many differing approaches, and we are called to hold seemingly contradictory ideas at the same time. We're called to live in a time of uncertainty and paradox, which, it turns out, is just like every time, but boy, the volume is turned up. As it relates to our topic today, we must hold a vision where race no longer in any way applies to people's value in society or the dignity they're granted or their equality under the law. We want to transcend race, and yet to do so and be real in the history we find ourselves born into, we have to take race very seriously. We want to be loving and forgiving and understanding and patient and kind, but we don't want to acquiesce to ideas that are destructive to all people. We want to preserve and value cultural differences, but we also want to create a shared culture that allows for those cultural differences. That's a paradox. We want to create a culture of multiculturalism. And that's not an easy task. Partly it's because cultures can be so very, very different from one another, far beyond just a matter of taste, all the way to the deepest level of identity, language. Who am I? What does food mean? What does music mean? So much deeper than preferences to shaping the way we understand our place in the world, how families should behave, what you can or can't acknowledge or talk about. And those can be in such contrast to one another, it can be hard to imagine a way to create space where they can all thrive and flourish. Now, in my own journey of understanding, I have only ever thought of my culture as American. It would take many years before I would understand the role that my white skin color played in that sense of American. But for me, growing up, it was American in contrast to anything, even European. Although there's Hungarian blood and Irish and English and some German in me, I had barely any attachment to those cultures, like with food or music or traditions. I sort of envied friends who were Irish American or Italian American there in the completely white Midwest, Cleveland, Ohio area where I grew up, because they had a stronger cultural identity. Not that there aren't some qualities, I guess, to the white Midwesterner. Don't be too brash or weird. I rebelled against that one. Keep your feelings to yourself. I'm afraid that one took. You earn your place in your community through your work. And no food can truly be comfort food without a can of Campbell's Cream of Something soup in it and Ritz crackers crumbled on top. Now, I learned more about white Midwesterners from my own father, who, as it turned out, was quite racist. Fortunately, I was raised by my mother and had only limited and thus critical exposure to his thinking. But in many ways, painfully, he helped me see the struggle that we are in the midst of right now. In a culture of multiculturalism, I'm okay with being me and eating casserole. I'm okay with you being different from me. I'm okay with my religious perspective, but I'm also okay with you having a quite different religious perspective. This is actually a mode of thinking and being in the world that not every person comes to, that folks must be educated and coached into, where you can embrace one's own culture and learn and appreciate from other cultures, thus being willing to have one's own self and one's own culture transformed, and to work together with people who are different to create an overall culture where all of that can take place safely. Again, that culture of multiculturalism. And that seeming paradox is the fundamental spiritual challenge before us. Always resolving paradox is the fundamental spiritual challenge. Overcoming the incomplete thoughts of us and them, or self and other, or in and out, or me and you. That dualistic approach, which is only ever half the picture. All the deep spiritual teachings proclaim a deeper unity, ungraspable, fluid. In Buddhism we call it emptiness, the absolutely unholdable quality of being that is manifested nevertheless in actual beings with actual forms. Taoism gets at that too. The Tao on the one hand, empty, invisible, ungraspable, and the 10,000 things that make up the world, which are made of the Tao. And so too in the West, where God is and is in all things, but cannot be mistaken for little old me, or me for her, I should say. And that's a core piece of the work we need to do just as individuals and spiritual beings right now as we engage in this struggle. There's actually a sort of set of spiritual practices or approaches that we might take as we try to create a culture of multiculturalism. And the first is guided by a faith in unity, to do a deep examination of the self, to study our own selves. What does it mean to be a white Midwesterner in America? How does that compare to the experiences of other people? What are my barriers? Who am I? Why am I the way I am? Who's in charge of these thoughts and feelings? What is my mind and consciousness? How does that relate to the mind and consciousness of other people? And when we do this kind of inquiry in meditation primarily, or reflection, contemplation, journaling, whatever it is, actually that deep examination of oneself lets one loosen the grip on one's self and be more open to learning from those around us and from the world. That's another spiritual tool we have at our disposal and must bring to bear in these times. Curious exploration and listening to those who are different from us as we engage in what another of our principles calls the free and responsible search for truth and meaning. I have my ears open right now. If you'd like to challenge your pastor, I'm all in. Another spiritual tool is, again, guided by faith in unity, to find and take advantage of the things that do bridge cultures, that bridge races, sexual orientations, people of whatever apparent difference. And here we can lean into some of the timeless ideas and ideals of humanity, of those who crafted this nation and came before us, however imperfect they may have been. Concepts like the inalienable right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and that all people are created equal, and own them afresh and reinvigorate them for a new world. I had the good fortune to finally see Hamilton this weekend. I know, I'm like 5 years behind the times. I wanted to see if it would, stick. Brilliant way to invite a renewed appreciation for and embrace of American ideals, even as a reimagining them for a future that looks so different than the time in which they were actually forged. Plain and simple, if we're going to create a culture of multiculturalism, we have to abandon completely that notion of sorting and giving different value to people based on skin color, sex, gender identity, anything else, and create a larger word that already includes all of those people, like American, and eventually like human being, global citizen, earthling. That culture of multiculturalism we're trying to create will be as big as the globe someday. For now, it's enough to try and work to make it real in our own lives, in our neighborhoods, and in this congregation. And it is of top priority right now for us to do the hard spiritual work, take a hard look at ourselves, and think what we can work on together and what we have to work on alone. In the most recent conversation on racial justice that I hosted online, I spoke of a set of assumptions that I want to make about us. Maybe this is a way of describing the culture within which our multiculturalism can thrive. I look forward to hearing what you think about these. What I assume in this culture that is at least working toward true multiculturalism is that everyone here cares about equality and unjust inequality, that everybody here is open to the idea of change and willing to change, to do that self-examination that I described. And I assume you're strong enough to do it, because everyone is harmed by racism and sexism and heteronormativism and everything that divides people. And they are all false barriers that are in the way of our human destiny of truly living as a single human family. I assume we share that faith. And I guess I have to assume as well that you are taking a clear look at this culture, at our politics, at the failures and successes of our governments, at our true history, the history that has the voices of all people in it, and recognize that this has been a racist operation from the beginning, from the very beginning, and that has resulted in current realities of great disparities in incarceration rates, poverty, health, victims of violence, and so forth. I assume, as we're building a culture of multiculturalism, that we're living in that world of reality together. But what I don't assume, and will never assume, is that people are equally well-read or educated about these things. I don't assume anything about your racial identity or experience. I don't assume you represent any class of people other than yourself as an individual. I can't assume that everyone here was raised in anything like the same way and wants the same solutions or the same pace or thinks theoretically about these things in the same way or is equally emotionally passionate about them. And yet I know we will do the work together because we have to do the work. It's just a fact that navigating this territory, engaging in this struggle for the nation and the soul, is good for us. It's good for our neighbors. It's what is going to let us have deeper relationships with each other and know a deeper, bigger love and a stronger, more secure peace. We have to do this work. We have to do it, as I said before, living within, believing in, co-creating with a bigger love, a culture of love and acceptance and possibility that is larger than the struggle we find ourselves in. That's a goddess-sized love, a God-sized love, a universe-sized love. And in the midst of our pain and struggle, love might almost seem somehow too trivial to be up to the task. It's hard to believe sometimes that there is a love. That in the words of Rebecca Parker, Reverend Dr. Rebecca Parker from Star King School for the Ministry, there is a love holding me. There is a love holding all that I love. There is a love holding all. I rest in this love. And that, my friends, is just straight up old school universalism. And it can be hard to believe in that love sometimes, but believing in it and being guided by it, examining oneself and one's world in order to let that love flourish, that is the essence of our spiritual path. And it is demanding. There is a love holding all. I shared this reading in a meeting online recently, justice-oriented people. And just to see how we were doing with our universalism, I said, there is a love holding Mitch McConnell. Everybody groaned. Yeah, everybody groaned. But I don't want to hate him. I don't want to shoot him. I want to beat him at the ballot box and beat him in the arena of ideas and ideals. And we just might do that this year. A love that can hold even those we perceive or who are actively acting as our enemies is what this faith calls us to embrace. And that love is what will let us become the multicultural institution we want to be. That is the love that will open our ears to the experiences of the immigrants in our community. That is the love that will let the black people understand the white people and the white people understand the black people and everybody else as well. That will be the love in us that lets us know we really are gay and straight together, young and old together, as the song says. That's the big love that helps us rise up. Let's find it. Let's sing its praises. And may the struggle for the soul of the nation and the struggle in our own soul lead us to that bigger love that holds us all. Holds me, holds you. There is a love holding you. Let us know it and make it so.
There is a love holding me.
There is a love holding all that I love.
There is a love holding all.
I rest in this love.
There is a love holding me. There is a love holding all that I love. There is a love holding all. I rest
closing words today are adapted from the mission and vision of our congregation's diversity project. Would you read with me? May we celebrate UUCSR's diversity and educate our members and friends about the diverse experiences of all people. May we compassionately face and actively transform the unjust privilege and unjust marginalization that our society imposes on us. May we encourage changes of culture and behavior as necessary to realize the vision of a truly welcoming, diverse, and ever-growing spiritual community, where all people feel able and willing to express themselves authentically, which is actively engaged in the pursuit of a just and equal society within and beyond its walls, and which faces the emotional and spiritual costs of oppression and inequality with open minds, loving hearts, and helping hands. I will extinguish the chalice now, but not the divine light that lives within you and within all people. Be at peace, make peace, peace unto you until we see each other again.